Related to anorexia nervosa is orthorexia nervosa, a lot less known. But just like people with anorexia are obsessed with the quantity of food they're eating, people who have orthorexia nervosa are obsessed with the quality of the food that they're eating, and they become orthodox or religious about what they're eating. So they'll be like, well, I'll have this brand of flaxseed oil, but not that. I'll have those noodles, but not those. I'll have that vegetable, but that one's bad for you. Anyone ever been there? You know, that's us. And what happens is that people sometimes they would rather get divorced than be with someone who eats that vegetable or that fruit or doesn't have as strict of a diet as they do. Now, let's fess up. How many of you have broken up a relationship because the person didn't eat as well as you'd like them to? Okay. And so this is a chance for you to self-examine, especially if you're a parent. Most of us here grew up eating junk. Yes? How many of you grew up eating junk? Okay, look where we are today. We survived. Although it may make sense to get divorced or separated because the person's poor dietary or lifestyle habits, what doesn't make sense is to compromise the quality of your relationship with your children by giving them overly restrictive way of eating. Children need a broad, balanced diet and enjoy eating foods that are similar in nature to what their peers are eating. If you really want to keep your children on a strict regime, please help them find other children who they can relate with. Where I grew up in the macrobiotic world, there were a lot of people, don't get me wrong, macrobiotics has saved my life, changed my life, and many people's lives. But part of it was sad to see that some of my colleagues and the teachers would have really poor relationship with their children because they knew if they ate normal, they were bad. And they couldn't help but eat normal because they were in public schools and that's what people ate. So I'm here to help you maintain good quality relationships, and your children, like you, will survive if they eat junk. And so to be able to remember that in the process of the relationship, and then for you to be able to share that with your clients, and with their children, to be able to keep the family in a way that is more sustainable. So orthorexia nervosa is developed by a physician whose name is Dr. Stephen Bratman, B-R-A-T-M-A-N. And before he was ever a doctor, he was a chef at a holistic community. And what he noticed was that most of the arguments in the community were about the food. And the people who were the vegan people started to really dislike the ones who needed to have fish in their diet. And then the ones who were eating fish really thought that the ones who wanted dairy were bad people. How could they not know that dairy's bad for you? And then the ones who ate meat, they were like, forget about it. They were going straight to hell after they died. And this, as the chef, fascinated him so much that even though he was older, he went to medical school to try to find out what was really true about all these dietary things. And so he coined the term orthorexia nervosa to describe us, people who get overly strict about food. And I'm not saying it's bad to be overly strict with food, but this is like a different perspective. And one that I feel we should be open to understand. He says, what starts as a devotion to healthy eating can evolve into a pattern of incredibly strict diets. Victims become so focused on eating a pure diet that planning and preparation of food come to play the dominant role in their lives. Anyone can relate to that? And so if what you are focused on is that, and then you're questioning, well, maybe why can't I pay my rent? Or why am I not building my practice? Well, maybe it's because you're spending 2 or 3 hours a day cooking. And so this reevaluation counseling is famous for having people like have an aha moment and reevaluate the structure and beliefs of their life. And so maybe if you're here thinking to yourself, maybe cooking 2 or 3 hours a day used to be a really helpful thing to do, and at this point in your life isn't. Or vice versa. Maybe being a busy career woman and not having time to cook made sense at one point, and now to have your health be well, to have your family work well, or relationship, or if you're single, your own health. And now is the time to take time every day to do the cooking. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no one right way of doing this. And the more I can embed that in your thinking, the more generous you will be as a counselor with non-dogmatic approach to working with your clients.